Championship battle.
It's the last weekend in June, which means only one thing. MotoGP is ready for one of its biggest rounds of the season at the TT Circuit Assen, located around 200 kilometres northeast of Amsterdam, and on the calendar for over 75 years. Assen's rich and proud history makes it a track every rider dreams of winning at. Who will conquer the Cathedral of Speed? It's time to race in MotoGP. The TT Circuit Assen, they've been racing in this part of the Netherlands for 100 years. Known as the Cathedral of Speed, the only track on the very first World Championship calendar back in 1949. It was the third ever Grand Prix in history, July 1949. What an accolade that is for Assen. It's a tight first sector before you sprint through turns 6 and 7. Good overtaking hotspot on the brakes into turns 8 and 9. And then there's been so many classic battles that have been decided in that final chicane. The fast right-handers through 11, 12 and 13 really give the tyres a work out here. So many overtaking hotspots around this iconic 4.5 kilometre circuit. The best of them potentially into turn 16. This was a later spark on the factory KTMs 3 years ago. So the 13-lap sprint here in Assen yesterday started with Fabio Quartararo, the factory Yamaha star, on pole position for the fourth time in the last 6 Grand Prix. It was close at the first corner as Marc Marquez aggressive into turn 1, having made a great start from 4th place on the grid. Quartararo's hopes of a podium in the sprint were ending when he crashed out of contention at turn 10. Marc Marquez took the lead very early on, right at the end of that opening lap. A lead he was not to relinquish, despite constant pressure from brother Alex behind him. But it was Marc Marquez on cloud 9 after he made it win number 9 on Sprint Saturday so far in 2025. Yet another second place for brother Alex. A first sprint podium since the end of 2023 for Aprilia star Marco Bezzecchi. As we get to briefly look at what is a stunning, special 70th birthday livery for the 4 Yamahas participating in this upcoming Grand Prix of the Netherlands. What a place, what a venue, what a pleasure it is always to be here at the Dutch TT, without any question. One of the most famous motorsport events in the world, certainly one of the biggest sporting events in the Netherlands. It doesn't matter where you go in the Netherlands, you have to just mention Assen and the Dutch TT, and every person knows what you're talking about. It's what they grow up in with this part of the world as we get set to begin the countdown for what is a special MotoGP race here over 26 laps to mark the 100 years of racing here in Assen. Here's to the next 100, that's all I can say, as we get set to see if Marc Marquez then can increase. A 43-point lead in the World Championship. Marc going for a third successive Sunday success since his brilliant charge to what was his last MotoGP World title back in 2019. We expect to be some fierce competition emerging from Alex, Marco Bezzecchi, Fabio Di Gianantonio and Pecco Bagnaia. We're going to hear from Massimo Rivola, hopefully Aprilia Racing CEO shortly. There's a lot of news, a lot of debate and discussion at the moment going on about the future of their absent reigning world champion, Jorge Martin. We heard Jack speaking to his manager, Albert Valera, here in Assen yesterday, where they were pretty clear. They're free to exercise a release clause in Martin's contract, which will see him part ways with the Nawali factory halfway through a 2-year deal. Aprilia, no surprise, have a completely different viewpoint on this issue. This is Alberto Puig talking this morning. This is a story, a matter between Aprilia and Jorge. If he gets out of contract, we'll understand. Yeah, this is dominating race day headlines here in Assen. Of course, Honda seem to be the preferred destination for Martin in 2026 if he is able to get release from the factory Aprilia contract. It sounds like it has the potential to be left in the hands of the lawyers, a battle fought off track rather than on it, as far as Aprilia are concerned. We are, as we said, hoping to hear from the boss Massimo Rivola in the build-up to this Dutch TT. Matt Burton Lewis to the beat in the commentary box with Jack Appleyard down in pit lane. Marc Marquez, 9 sprint wins out of 10. He has completed the sprint and Grand Prix doubles in Aragon and in Mugello recently. He did it at the start of the season in Thailand, Argentina and in Qatar. What do you think, Lewis? Is anybody going to be able to deny him yet another double here in the Netherlands?
If they're to do that, I think their best hope is to try and avoid what happened in the sprint yesterday, which was Marc Marquez making an extraordinary start, almost taking the lead into turn 1, Harbocked when he went round the outside of Fabio Quartararo. Quartararo in no mood to be pushed around and pushed Marc Marquez all the way off the road. Certainly it appeared yesterday that Alex Marquez had superior speed if he could get through. Unfortunately, though, he could not get through. Wasn't strong enough on the right parts of the racetrack to be anywhere near close enough into the key overtaking spots on this TT circuit, Assen. We did see last weekend, of course, in Mugello, a major barroom brawl-style fight to have track position in those early stages. I'm expecting something similar today.
Looking relaxed and looking all calm and enjoying some Assen sunshine is Ducati Lenovo team boss Davide Tardozzi. Will Marc Marquez once again find his winning feeling? He has not finished in the top 6 here in Assen since he was second back in 2019. Of course, he has missed a couple of Grand Prix through injury. Looking to find some form once again is French Grand Prix winner and British Grand Prix runner-up Johann Zarco, who finished 11th place for Zarco. Of course, this is the modern-day technology which brings you all of the amazing and heart-stopping onboard action here. The 2025 MotoGP onboard. This is a very special flashback. Look at this. 40 years ago, all the way back in 1985, at the Dutch TT on the 29th of June, Randy Mamola, the American legend, with the very, very first onboard camera. A special innovation all the way back in 1985. Dorna, of course, pioneers in onboard cameras in global motorsport, not just in motorcycle racing. And there he is, great to see the pioneer himself, Randy Mamola, 4 times MotoGP runner-up, a MotoGP legend himself. Amazing how that technology has advanced, hasn't it, in those 4 decades, but brilliant, as always, Dorna at the forefront of bringing you right into the heart of the action, the greatest motorsport show on earth.
A very different Assen there, wasn't it? In very different conditions. The Cathedral of Speed has moving with the times, much like MotoGP and modern motorsport broadcasting. But there is the current gold standards in MotoGP. Marc Marquez, and this was him, as you can see, making contact with Fabio Quartararo coming through the first corner in the sprint. And that was about the biggest piece of drama that Marc Marquez had to deal with in yesterday's sprint as he made his way to a 9th victory out of 10 on our Super Saturdays so far this season. Alex Marquez ultimately unable to find a way through.
Well, of course, tyre choice will be pivotal. It's definitely the hottest condition we've had of the weekend so far. There's been a bit of a break in the last hour or so in what was heavy cloud cover here in Assen. We know the medium front tyre was real problematic for the riders on Friday. 9 fallers, some real big get-offs on Friday afternoon in practice. I know Jack's been busy down in pit lane getting some info from Michelin. Jack, what are the riders thinking?
Well, we saw in the sprint yesterday, 13-lap sprint, of course, that the soft front tyre was really at the limit to get to the end. So then to go double the distance today, all of the teams are expecting that this cloud cover that we've got should blow through in the next half an hour or so, which means the sun will come out, track temperature will come up. So don't be surprised to see a lot of people going for the hard front tyre. Could be a few people gambling on the soft front, but it would be that, a gamble. When it comes to the rear, soft or medium, both of them will do the duration. There's no issues with that. They're just going to see rider preference in terms of how the tyre drops. The medium can just slide a little bit better through those fast corners, which might be the preference of some riders over the soft. But the big call here is the front tyre. It looks as though everyone will go hard front. Could we see some gamble on the soft?
Yeah, thanks very much, Jack, for that bang up-to-date latest info. He's been a busy fella down in pit lane, as always, this week at Henderson. Jack, this was a replay. Enea Bastianini impeding Alex Rins. This was in practice. This was in Q1, rather. A long lap penalty.
Well, my information is that he's got a three-place grip penalty.
I thought it was a three-place grip penalty.
He qualified in 17th place on the grid. He's been relegated down to 20th place, so disregard the tick he had at top of screens there. Our information is he doesn't have a long lap penalty. He drops 3 places on the grid. Yesterday,
Alex Marquez, second in the Sprint World Grand Prix in 2025 for the 14th time. 14th time he's finished second. 16 podiums so far this season, which is just about keeping him on the coattails of Mark in terms of the World Championship. 43 points he is behind Mark coming into this Dutch TT. And of course, where do we go next? It's only the Sachsenring in Germany, where you do feel if Marc Marquez has a trouble-free weekend, it could be a case of, well, who's going to finish second in the sprint and the Grand Prix over there? Partially cloudy, not a lot of breeze around here in the northeastern Netherlands. Thankfully, despite some of the rather grey and threatening clouds that have been with us for every day here in Assen, we have not really had any rain intervention, which has been good news, because the weather can be a little bit temperamental. This is our most northerly venue on the Grand Prix calendar, as Pecco Bagnaia then comes into the back of the factory Ducati garage. Fair to say, in previous years, Bagnaia has adored Assen. His first ever Grand Prix success was here back in a classic Moto3 battle in 2016. How much did he enjoy that one? Well, he's got a tattoo on his right arm to mark that special moment in his career. And of course, he is undefeated in a Grand Prix here in MotoGP since 2021. A big ask. Is it another mountain to climb that he can't scale after what's been a real troublesome season so far this year? There is the correct penalty for the beast. A 3-place grid penalty coming the way for Enea.
So for Pecco Bagnaia from second place on the grid, is he going to display some of that lap 1 aggression that we saw from him as his home fans roared him on at Mugello a week ago? Bagnaia seems rather confident, though. Of course, we have seen him shrug his shoulders after quite a few Saturday sprints this season. We saw that again yesterday, where he ultimately had nothing for the riders up ahead, just couldn't overtake on the sprint fuel tank. That, he said, was his issue, rather than any lack of front feeling, which has been plaguing him so far this season. So Quartararo might have some company on that run down to the first corner. Bagnaia feels confident that today could well be his day.
It's a birthday bonanza in Assen here this weekend. Not only does Assen celebrate 100 years of racing here in the Netherlands, but this is the absolutely beautiful special Dutch TT livery being run by all 4 Yamahas: Fabio Quartararo, Alex Rins in the factory garage, Jack Miller and Miguel Oliveira in the Pramac Yamaha garage. This already is a celebration of Yamaha's 70th birthday. And it is an absolute corker. It's beautiful, it is stunning. It's a livery, a replica of Nitro Norihaga, of course, world superbike star, former Grand Prix star, 1999. Haga's R7 livery when he was in World SBK. It's beautiful, it's absolutely good. Let's hope that Fabio Quartararo can be in the mix. Victorious here from pole position in 2021, but of course exit in the sprint yesterday having started from pole. That's what the special Yamaha livery is all about here today.
All 4 Yamahas will be running it, the 2 from the factory team, the 2 from promo. It will be a test for us commentators, but we will certainly forgive Yamaha for that. It is a wonderful livery to look at. This wasn't such a good sight from a Yamaha point of view yesterday. Fabio Quartararo crashing at Mandevane. He was running in 4th place and matching the pace of the group up ahead of him. Not helped yesterday, Quartararo, by the fact that he started on a well-used soft front tyre. He wanted to save his one remaining new soft for whether he needed it today in the Grand Prix. He didn't say that was the reason for the crash. The reason for the crash was that he was pushing in Q2 mode for the entire Tissot sprint, but ultimately Quartararo pushed just that little too hard.
A message for Fabio Quartararo. Fabio, slow down, I'm here, from one of his many fans in the grandstands. Well, he might keep that about. I think he won't be doing it though before the cool-down lap. Fabio Quartararo, pole position number 4 in the last 6 Grand Prix. What can he do on that factory Yamaha? The sun is starting to break up the cloud cover here. Certainly the hottest part of the weekend. As Jack was updating us on the Michelin tyre selection, of course, we'll bring you any information on that one as soon as we possibly can. Jack Miller, Pramac Yamaha rider, started and finished the sprint in P14 yesterday. Did Miller, of course, fond memories of Assen for the Australian. Who will ever forget 2016 when he won a restarted Dutch TT? It made him the first independent team winner for Mark VDS at that time, since Tony Elias won in Estoril back in 2006, the first independent team winner in 10 years. And now, of course, we're very accustomed to independent teams fighting for victories week in, week out. And last year, for the first time in history, it was an independent team rider that won the MotoGP World Championship for the very first time, when Jorge Martin took the spoils in 2024.
Took such a buffeting from the wind yesterday, did Jack Miller, that his airbag went off on the 2nd lap of the sprint. We're hoping to avoid a repeat of that today. You just saw some of the overtaking hotspots around this Assen circuit, of which it is so fast and so flowing, but unfortunately there were no overtaking hotspots yesterday for Alex Marquez, who tried his level best to get on terms with Marc Marquez, but unfortunately Marc Marquez just so good in defence that Alex Marquez couldn't ultimately launch a sustained attack in that battle for the lead. Can Alex reverse the order here this afternoon? If he wants to try and close in that World Championship advantage, he needs to get a move on.
Like the air guitar there in the grandstands, loving that from so many of our young fans. Many fans travel from all over the world to be part of what is such a great spectacle. Alex Rins then, another of those Yamaha quartet who's sporting their special 70th anniversary livery here. Marco Bezzecchi then was brilliant in the sprint here yesterday, 3rd over the line behind Mark and Alex. He's got a great track record here previously as well in Assen as the 26-year-old Italian. Let's get an update from Jack down in pit lane.
Yeah, Bez tried some new rear aero this morning in warm-up, that being the wings that are just beneath where he sits. You might have seen some images when he's out on track. The Aprilia, the first to introduce these wings just beneath where his legs are. They are a slightly different shape, plus the ones on the rear as well are noticeably much bigger. But as far as I can see, he tried it for the first time. I wasn't at the Aragon test, so I can't confirm that, but it's certainly in Grand Prix setting. Tried it for the first time this morning. He must like it, because he's going to go out and race with this brand new aero that he only tried for the first time this morning. And when he's got such a big chance, that is, well, potentially a gamble, but clearly the team and Marco feel that this is a step in the right direction and in performance for him.
Good spot, Jack. Thank you very much. Yeah, rear stability has been sort of the constant gripe as far as Marco Bezzecchi is concerned. He said the front end of the Aprilia is planted, it's brilliant, but it's just that movement too much on braking and on corner exit, which has been causing some of his woes. He is coming bang into form. This then is the new aero, which Jack has just mentioned. They only tried it this morning for the first time in the warm-up session, but they clearly, on the data and from the feedback from Bez, feel like it's worth a punt. Why not stick it in? And the best way to test it and find out how good it is to get some data in a full race scenario.
Marco Bezzecchi from 5th place on the grid has done a lot of the hard work, you feel, from an Aprilia point of view this weekend, because their big challenge has been getting up the grid. They have managed it this time. They've been talking all season, if we can get ourselves on the front 2 rows of the grid, we can do some serious damage from there. It is Marco Bezzecchi's best qualifying of 2025, and at a circuit he loves so much.
Yesterday was his first sprint podium in over 30 sprints, tracking all the way back to Mandalika in 2023. His first ever MotoGP podium was right here. There is that new rear aero that Jack brilliantly spotted then down in pit lane. Marco Bezzecchi, he has had great, I have to say, there's been a whole bunch of races so far this year where Bez has had top 5 podium pace. The problem is he's been so deep on the grid so often, he's been really struggling to get anything out of a brand new soft Michelin rear tyre. It seems like they are finding their form. Well, while we're on the subject of Aprilia and we're focusing on events on track right now with Marco Bezzecchi, of course, the Nuali factory are dominating headlines off track right now, and this sort of current contract dispute with themselves and Jorge Martin. Let's get the bang up-to-date latest from the boss of Aprilia Racing CEO Massimo Rivola, who joins Jack.
Yeah, he does indeed. Obviously, so much going on off track at the moment for Aprilia. We'll touch on Marco and what a great opportunity he's got in a moment, Massimo. But as I'm sure you're aware, Albert Valera speaking yesterday saying that his rider, Jorge Martin, will be free from contract at the end of this season. He's free to sign for anyone. I know that you've come out and spoken. Carmelo Espeleta has this morning as well. Just what's the latest in terms of Aprilia's standpoint on this contract dispute?
Well, from our point of view, it doesn't change much. In fact, what Carmelo said is something very interesting for us, and I don't think we're going to change our position now. Obviously, priority number 1 is to keep Jorge, and eventually, if we have to really get, let's say, get separated, then we will do our best to protect our company.
So you don't rule out the possibility that Jorge and Aprilia could separate at the end of the year. In terms of a timeline, I think for everybody's sake, we need to see a resolution to this as soon as possible. How do you see the next weeks and months developing?
Well, for sure, timing is a factor. Looks like Honda is ready to make or already done a big offer. Now it's more in lawyer's hand than us.
Are you happy to take it to the courts? Is it not a messy situation for both Jorge and Aprilia? Why can't you come around a table and try come to a resolution?
As I said, I will do whatever it takes to protect Aprilia Racing.
Thank you, Massimo.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. Thanks to Aprilia boss Massimo Rivola. This one is going to rumble on and on and on, isn't it, before they can get their heads together and try and work out some kind of amicable resolution. At the moment, it seems like the two parties are complete opposite ends. Martin, we heard from his boss, Albert Valera, clearly feels like he's a free agent. They feel like they can go and talk and find another ride with another manufacturer in 2026. At the Aprilia standpoint, and you can understand why they are standing firm and digging their heels in. They feel like they've got a legally binding contract, which means that Martin will have to stay put offer and see out the 2-year deal.
And of course, there's a side issue in all of this, is that Jorge Martin is closing in on a return from injury. How can that possibly happen on board a factory Aprilia right now, while the relationship is the way it currently is between the Martin camp and the Aprilia camp? And that one is going to run and run off the track even before Jorge Martin makes his return on it.
Yeah, some strong words earlier on today in the paddock in Assen from Rivola, where he was pretty blunt. He said there are only two options. Either we find an agreement and we need to sit down and speak seriously, or go to court. Make of that what you will. That's the Martin saga. Let's focus on matters on track then right now here in Assen. As Pecco Bagnaia leaves the grid, looking for a bit of shade as we all get set and warmed up for the pre-race grid ceremony here in Assen. It's been a very special weekend, a weekend full of memorable celebrations, as you'd expect. 100 years of racing in Assen. We were in downtown Assen a few days ago. There were live bands. There was a wonderful display, actually, of all the Dutch TT posters going all the way back to the 1930s. It was absolutely brilliant. The organisers around this part of northeast Netherlands have certainly done the locals proud in celebrating the century landmark.
Let's take a look at the grid then. Fabio Quartararo on pole position from Pecco Bagnaia and Alex Marquez, all three on the hard front tyre as it stands. Marc Marquez for just the second time this year off the front row in fourth from Marco Bezzecchi and Frankie Morbidelli, who was 13th at the end of lap 1 in the sprint yesterday. He's got the soft front tyre at this stage. Fermin Aldeguer and Pedro Acosta had long laps in the sprint. They start either side of Gian Antonio on row 3. Maverick Vinales 10th ahead of Ralph Fernandez, who had throttle problems in the sprint. He's got Johan Zarco for company. Joan Mir 13th ahead of Jack Miller, whose airbag went off in the sprint on lap 2. Lorenzo Savadori completes row 5 after he got a tyre pressure penalty yesterday. Binder, Oliveira and Rins on row 6 from Ayagura, who crashed in Q1, and Enea Bastianini, who blocked Alex Rins in Q1 and drops 3 places on the grid. A grid completed by Aleix Espargaro and Somkhat Chantra.
Now this could change. This is initial Michelin information. But your front row on the hard front, but Alex Marquez was on the soft rear. Marc and Quartararo alongside him on the medium rear, so we'll see how that one plays out. Well, that's all part of what is the special build-up then to this Dutch TT. I know Jack very shortly is hoping to catch a word with our Le Mans Grand Prix winner and British Grand Prix runner-up, LCR Honda rider Johan Zarco very shortly. As Marco Bezzecchi, also another rider that just leaves the grid. We're just under 20 minutes away, aren't we, from lights out here in Assen. Aleix Espargaro, well, another dream comes true for the veteran Spaniard as he gets set to make his Grand Prix debut for the official factory Honda team, replacing the injured Luca Marini. Of course, previously, when he's appeared in 2025, he has been as a designated HRC wildcard.
Of course, he's got a professional cycling debut to come soon as well. There's Aleix Espargaro on the... Well, of course, he won't be on the 41 Honda. He'll be on a very different kind of two-wheeled motorcycle or bicycle in the very near future. Let's head down then to the grid and get a word with Johan Zarco, who starts 12th. He's with Jack.
Johan, talk me through your chances in this one. It feels like tyre choice has almost made itself up with these hotter temperatures coming in the last few moments. How do you feel ahead of it?
Seems soft and medium. They are giving more or less the same performance. Soft always a bit better, but we we have a question mark on the long distance on 26 laps. But yesterday, pushing a lot on the sprint race, we have seen that we still have margin on the soft rear. So for Honda, the soft rear seems to be the best option, and I hope it's going to be good for me to stay with the other guys and get the best race as possible to go home with some points.
Good luck.
That's it.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. Thanks to Johan Zarco. Yeah, it did look like all the Hondas, at least coming to the grid, were on that soft rear tyre. The one to watch will be Alex Marquez, because he was the only one on the front row on the grid. As we mentioned, this can change, and it so often does change. Maybe when Alex realises that, you know, normally your influence or your decision is influenced by what your championship rivals are doing, or maybe he just feels like, well, the soft does represent the best chance of me actually toppling Mark for once, as the 100-year Assen celebrations continue. This is Elsa Duval, who I believe is going to be singing the national anthem in a few minutes' time.
Let's head down and hear from the pole sitter, Fabio Quartararo, with Jack.
Fabio obviously didn't go to plan yesterday. When we spoke afterwards, you weren't too optimistic ahead of this one. Having slept on it, have you found a bit of optimism that you can really challenge at the front today?
Well, I expect a tough start, because we know that the beginning of the race we are really struggling with new tires, and especially with the medium that we will use. But we will try to make our maximum and try to enjoy the race. That for me is the most important right now.
Good luck, have fun.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks to Fabio Quartararo. Well, we've completed the full set of French flyers on our MotoGP grid then here in Assen. As Quartararo then pole position number 20 for the 26-year-old. Well, we're ready to rock and roll, aren't we, in MotoGP here in Assen for round 10 in 2025, and we're about to get some rock and roll by the looks of it. This has been a rather spectacular pre-race show from the Dutch, isn't it, here in Assen?
Centenary celebration of everything that's great about the TT Circuit Assen and everything that's great about Grand Prix motorcycle racing. So many of the iconic moments in Grand Prix history have taken place at this venue. It is a Grand Prix that knows its place in history, and they are putting on a party at this Centenary Spectacular.
You've certainly got better moves than what I have, that's for sure. Who's going to be making the big moves in the 26-lap Grand Prix of the Netherlands coming up in just under 15 minutes' time? Fabio Quartararo, just the third Yamaha rider in history to complete 20 pole positions in MotoGP or more. Jorge Lorenzo and Valentino Rossi, members of that very exclusive club. Quartararo, though, it is now 1,106 days since his last victory at the German Grand Prix in the Saxony. Tipped off at turn 10 in that sprint yesterday. And what's going through the mind right now, Pecco Bagnaia. Let's go to the thoughts of another Italian. Frankie Morbidelli joins Jack on the grid.
Frankie, you've got yourself in a great position for this one on the second row of the grid. What's possible today?
I will try to use my fast machine and keep my motor clean. And I will try to use it at the best.
Well, good luck, Frankie. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Jack. Thanks very much to Frankie Morbidelli. He's a poet, and he doesn't know it, isn't he? Sometimes I love listening to the words of Frankie Morbidelli. He's going to try and use his fast machine to get himself into contention in this 100th Dutch TT.
Lean, mean VR46 machine.
Don't ever change, Frankie.
Morbidelli, who's ready to roll from 6th place on the grid. And he said yesterday, actually, after the sprint, that He's one of the riders who has a little bit more understanding and experience with the medium rear tyre, having ran it on Friday. Only 4 riders really did any kind of sustained running on that tyre. Morbidelli, along with Fabio Quartararo, who was another of them, feels that that may prove to be an advantage if the bulk of the field do go for that medium rear.
So we're approaching the time for the Netherlands national anthem. You know how we like a good stat in the old commentary box. The Dutch national anthem is the oldest in the world. Alex Marquez, as we suspected then. It was just a preliminary tie sheet, the information that we got. But Alex has indeed decided in these, well, the hottest conditions, without any question, the weekend so far, that he has switched it over to that medium rear tyre. Yeah, the Dutch national anthem dates all the way back to 1574. Just a little factoid to throw out there for you fans that are watching at home.
Well, they know the history here of the Dutch TT. Apart from our COVID pandemic 2020 season, this place has been an ever-present on the Grand Prix calendar. Some of the greatest moments in Grand Prix history have taken place right here, and Pecco Bagnaia has been at the centre of some of our most recent Assen memories. Winner of the last 3 Dutch TTs. Surely Pecco Bagnaia is going to go all in to try and extend that to 4. Does he have the speed? Does he have the confidence to deny the Marquez brothers today?
Well, he certainly has nothing to lose. 117 points already behind Marc Marquez in the World Championship. We've not even breached the halfway point of 2025 so far. He's 74 points behind Alex in second place. I mean, he's got it all on, hasn't he, to finish runner-up in back-to-back seasons. Jorge Martin got the better of him in a final round decider in Barcelona last year. As Marc Marquez, 67 Grand Prix wins, a 68th here today will move him level with Italian legend Giacomo Agostini in the all-time winners list. Only Valentino Rossi would then have won more Premier Class battles. As we're going to pause, as always, in the commentary box here in Assen very, very shortly for the national anthem.
Van Nassau ben ik van Duits en bloed. Le vaderland getrouw blijf ik tot in den dood. Een prinses van Oranje ben ik vrij onverveeld. De koning van Spanje heb ik altijd geëerd.
Beautifully performed, of course, a national anthem that many motorsport fans will be very familiar with from Max Verstappen's exploits on 4 wheels. Let's get some more pre-race comments. Let's head back down to Jack on the grid.
Davide, it was obvious that Pecco was frustrated yesterday, but blamed it on the sprint fuel tank. So now that we move up to full Grand Prix mode, is the confidence that we can see the real Pecco here?
Yeah, I guess so. This morning he did good, so it's a different race because we have different race tire, but in the end the protagonist will be the same one of yesterday, the Ducatis plus Bezzecchi and Fabio. So we'll see, but it will be very interesting how they will manage the tire on the second part of the race.
Mark spoke yesterday about just taking the maximum points and maybe settling for second or third. Do you believe him? Because I don't.
Never believe that Mark don't race for the win, but in the end we saw also this morning that Alex is incredibly fast on the sector 3, so we'll see what it's going to be, and I think that everybody will try to be to lead the race and to be in front from the beginning, but you know, it will be a tough first lap.
Thanks, Davide.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. Thanks to Davide Tardozzi from the Ducati Lenovo team, who surely feel they've got two genuine race-winning contenders today. Of course, Marc Marquez has done all the winning from that team's point of view, with the exception of that Sunday slip-up in Austin. Can Grassini and Alex Marquez deny them today? Michele Massini's talking to Jack.
Michele, watching the race yesterday, it was obvious where Alex's strengths were, Sector 3 in particular. What can he do differently today to try and get in front of Marc?
He can try to go faster also in some other sector, more than yesterday. We will try, of course, and for sure today will be a different management of the race, and we will try also to go in front and try to take some advantage, and we'll see at the end of the races.
You've made the late change from the soft rear to the medium rear. What was the thinking there?
I think that all the grid we will use the same spec of tires, so hard in front and medium rear, and of course this is put the level at the same level of the rider today, so we will do our best.
You're the best man, Min. Thank you, Michele.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks Michele Massini, thanks to Jack. As we mentioned there, we just saw on the grid part of Yamaha's 70th anniversary celebrations, Giacomo Agostini. 68 times he won in MotoGP, which is an achievement, and none of which Marc Marquez can reach here this afternoon. 26 laps. We're about 5 minutes away from action underway in what has been a brilliant weekend. A huge congratulations to everybody connected to Assen and the surrounding area. They put on a brilliant show, a special way to celebrate a special anniversary. Under the let's go down. Speaking of legends, well, we just saw that banner there. Some people think he's the greatest to ever race in MotoGP. Tough to argue with that. Well, let's get the thoughts of the legend Ago, who's with Jack.
Giacomo, 100 years of racing at the TT Circuit Assen, a remarkable achievement. What a legendary venue. I mean, how is it to be a part of the celebrations today?
It's fantastic, fantastic, because Assen is a special track, a special people, and I'm happy today to be here because it's 70 years from Yamaha, so I use my bike. I win in 75 with Yamaha, and we do a few laps for the public fantastic, and so I'm happy to do this one.
Very quickly, how do you see this race panning out?
This race is, all the race is very, very difficult, because you see that the 3-4 people always make a battle for 1 cent, 2 cents, so very, very close, so it's always difficult. But I think today we see, of course, Marquez and Bagnaia, I think also very close, Bezzecchi. It's a nice show for the people.
Absolutely, great to see you here. Enjoy it.
Grazie, ciao.
Yeah, as Ago said there, Giacomo Agostini, it's a special emotion for a rider to race here in Assen. Certainly a special emotion if you are able to take a victory. Marc Marquez's brilliant success in Mugello 7 days ago moved him on to 67 wins in MotoGP. Can he make it 3 on the spin for the first time since 2019?
Very quickly, time information has come through from Michelin. Every rider is on the hard front except for Sonkia Chantra, who's gone for the medium. Everybody is on the medium rear with the exception of Lorenzo Savadori, Ayagura and the 4 Hondas.
So a level playing field in terms of your front row. A level playing field in terms of your top 6, as it is 5 minutes then to race start. Are we going to get a thrilling conclusion to what has been a thrilling weekend here? The Dutch TT in 2025 is one that's going to live long in the memory, with all of the special celebrations that have taken place. But who will be enjoying the final celebrations of this anniversary weekend? Starting 4th place on the grid, only the 2nd time this season he's off the front row, is Marc Marquez. Already though victorious in the sprint here yesterday. What a record he's got on Sprint Saturdays. 9 out of 10 he's won in the sprints. Can it be yet another 2nd place for Alex Marquez, or can he find his way back to the top 7 of the podium? Pecco Bagnaia looking for a 4th win in a row here in Assen. He's 2nd, but Fabio Quartararo are trying to win for Yamaha here in Assen from pole. iconic, it's historic, it's the one and only Assen. Welcome to the 2025 Grand Prix of the Netherlands. This famous circuit has witnessed some incredible MotoGP battles down the years. Who will ever forget 7 years ago, back here in 2018, when we had over 170 overtakes in the league group alone. And then, of course, we've just heard from a MotoGP legend 50 years ago, back in 1975. An all-time classic race between the late great Barry Sheene and Giacomo Agostini. The only Premier Class race in history where two riders were credited with the same time. Only manual timing could split the pair of them 50 years ago. We celebrate 100 years of racing here in Assen. Let's hope this Grand Prix in 2025 serves up a battle worthy of the occasion. We've certainly got a stellar lineup, the current superstars at MotoGP getting ready to combat in a Dutch duel which is playing out in front of another record crowd. The last 7 years coming to Assen, we've had a Sunday crowd that's topped 100,000 fans, a high last year of 108,000 fans. They love their racing in this part of the world. So many fans, as we mentioned, they swarm from all corners of the globe to make the annual pilgrimage to Assen. The last Sunday in June, that means only one thing. It's Dutch TT time, and now it's time to find out who's going to be victorious in Chapter 10 of this year's World Championship. Can Pecco Bagnaia find his way to the top step of the podium for the fourth year here in a row? Wins in 2022, 2023 and in 2024. The last rider to beat Bagnaia here in the Netherlands was our pole starter Fabio Quartararo back in 2021. Sunshine poking through the clouds. A record crowd for the first time ever at Assen. We have welcomed more than 200,000 fans this weekend. Thank you very much. Well, that seems fitting.